Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to MPH Motoe Fitness and Health. We've got Coach Robb Beams here, providing some professional insight into some fitness and health related questions. Today I want to talk about caffeine. It's kind of been generally accepted now that caffeine in certain levels is good for sports performance.
Sure. Yep.
Kind of brings up that mental acuity, kind of gets you feeling like you're ready to go. According to the Mayo Clinic, 400 milligrams per day is the maximum you want to consume. If you're looking at some energy drinks, those can be 300 milligrams alone. A cup of coffee is about 100 per cup. What are your thoughts on caffeine, where we get it, what you take it with, kind of what is a good balance there to strike?
Well, it's interesting. Caffeine falls in a category known as an ergogenic benefit. We always hear so much about performance-enhancing drugs, EPO, HGH, corticosteroids, and that kind of stuff. An ergogenic benefit or an aid is something that comes from your natural food. Creatine, you can load up on creatine.
Sure.
Caffeine falls right into that same category. So for somebody that doesn't drink coffee or doesn't bring in caffeine, you're definitely going to get a metabolic lift. Like you said, the mental clarity is there. Definitely you get an elevation in energy. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The big thing that I always say to my clients, I'm not a big coffee drinker. If I drink coffee, I'm usually making it a milkshake with a bunch of artificial creamer. As I said before in previous shows, I don't live in a glass house, so I'm going to have coffee. It's going to taste good. I think coffee, it has its opportunities.
I always say black coffee is for people whose parents didn't love them.
Literally. I'm going to steal that line. I'm going to give you the props to it, but it definitely does work. Now, what we always say with our clients is, as you were saying, that 400 milligrams tends to be that threshold on a daily basis. Not to be rude, a sensitive subject, you got to go off of loose bowels. Because when you get to a point where that caffeine just, it's going to vasodilate your sphincter and it's going to be open season, you've got to know where that threshold is at. Obviously, if you're just trying to get through a day at work, it's not so bad when you have a restroom that you can run to. But if you're out on the track, and not to be rude, but you add velocity, you add a little G out, and you add a loose sphincter, you're probably going to have, what do you call it earlier, the brown?
Yeah, code brown.
Code brown is going to be in full force.
Yeah, those are a bummer, especially when you hit the track without a good way to clean up.
Literally.
Spare pair of shorts.
Yep.
What about, it's also a diuretic, isn't it? So you got to be careful with hydration.
It's very funny you say that because Michaela and I, we like to study a lot. We do a lot of research. And when we were formulating our energy fuel, we were looking at bringing caffeine in because of the sports, the ability to add clarity. And we actually found that it's actually a farce. It's not true.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was educated because, to be honest with you, I've been under the impression that it was a diuretic. That was a negative. Now, again, I'm sure there might be somebody that says, oh, you hit a certain point, it could have a diuretic characteristic. But just like too much caffeine, we can go into, gives you loose bowel syndrome too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were surprised to find that it doesn't. It went into the absorption rate of the caffeine, to the fluid intake and osmolality and all this other absorption math. But it was fascinating for me because with that epiphany, that's why we decided to add a little bit of caffeine to our energy fuel boost. It's a very, the sugar that we put in it is an easily convertible carbohydrate molecule to sugar. Because think about when you've got this guy burning at top end, you want that fuel to burn as crisp and clean as it can, and your body's the same way. But we did add the caffeine for more mental clarity as well.
Gotcha. And then you have to also consider, as you mentioned with coffee, is how are you getting the caffeine? So if you're drinking a cup of black coffee, there's really no downsides to that. You're adding that crappy creamer, which is delicious.
It's the best.
But that's bad for you.
It's horrible. We had a lady that was doing our 2-week food challenge where we put together, it's actually by Dr. Phil Maffetone. I can't take credit for it. The guy's brilliant. And he developed this 2-week food challenge, and we've essentially taken the same information and made it available to our clients because, and I agree with him, the ingestion of simple sugars and white starches are at an all-time epidemic level as a society. And his only purpose for doing that is when you realize where hidden sugars are at. And we had a lady, she did the 2-week food challenge, and you're allowed to have black coffee on there. And she took it out. For some reason, she just didn't feel like she wanted to do black coffee. But then she brought her coffee back in, and she ballooned up after the 2-week food challenge. She said, see, I told you, it's the black coffee. A little bit of research, we found out she was doing the creamer. It was the artificial sweetener in the creamer that she was having an adverse reaction to that caused her to balloon up. So, yeah, it's even though I enjoy it, it's a lot of poison.
Yeah, I try to do the bulletproof coffee,
Yeah.
a little bit of butter, a little MCT oil.
Sure.
And I do a packet of stevia.
Okay.
And I can, it's decent to me. It's
Yeah.
not as good as my vanilla or
Exactly.
coconut cream,
Yep.
Coffee Mate, but it also doesn't have all the crap in it. So I think that, I guess that's my point is if you're going to the track and trying to get a little caffeine bump, just be careful where you're getting it because it's fine. It actually is a performance enhancer, but when you have to deliver it through a whole bunch of sugar, whether that's an energy drink,
That's right.
that's when the negative side effects start kicking in.
Well, and not getting highly technical, that's where we get into the glycemic index. You've heard that sugar crash that everybody talks about. You get that big spike in that insulin and then it crashes. So your energy levels are here, spiked to here, and then plummeted to here. That could be a real problem when you're 20 minutes out from a moto. You hit that Java jolt that does have the artificial crap in it. And then when you finally get to the line, you're almost in a coma because you get that insulin crash. But that's where we go back to, good, high quality coffee beans, as close to black as you can go. Because the big key word is to stay away from anything synthetic.
Yeah.
Anything synthetic is going to be fabricated. There's going to be something artificial that your body's probably not going to really agree with. And if you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't consume it.
That's right. One other little tidbit since we're on this, a lot of folks think that the darker the coffee, maybe the more caffeine because it's got a richer taste. Actually, the longer that you roast a bean, the more of that caffeine you burn off. So a light roast, better for caffeine intake if that's what you're after.
There you go.
Well, cool. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
appreciate it.
touch on it. I know there's some issues with it. It's like one of those things that there is some benefit, but be careful how you get it.
There's certainly a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the takeaway.
Well, if you want more information on diet, nutrition, get over to CompleteRacingSolutions.com. Rob has a ton of things there, resources for you, all free of charge. You can also bump up to a membership and get access to a whole lot more. So check those out. We appreciate you. Stay tuned. We got more MPH videos coming.